teaching learning. Welcome to this 6 days FDP. Welcome our organizing secretary, Dr. Sairam sir, to introduce our chief guest profile.
Good morning to one and all present here. It's my privilege to invite Dr. I.A. Parani, Dean Research and Development IIT Indore, to invite the 6 days AICTE IST sponsored online induction refresher program on strategies in teaching learning. Good morning, sir. I am very much delighted to present the profile of Dr. I.A. Parani, sir. Dr. I.A. Parani has completed UG in Satyabama Engineering College and completed his master's from AC College of Engineering, Anna University, Chennai, and completed his doctorate from IIT Madras. Totally, he is having professional experience of 10 years in various institutions. He is expertised in the field of smart materials and structures and laser-based micro manufacturing, optical instrumentation, etc. He has handled administrative responsibilities such as Dean Research and Development, IIT Indore, and Board of Governing Member in IIT Indore, and Symbiosis University of Applied Science, and also been a DA member of our CAT unit, PhD admission, and PG research evaluation. He has published various papers and patents. His publication includes 106 international journals with a total impact factor of 240 and filed 5 patents till date. And also, he is having 7 international book chapters. As a crown of his excellence, he is a reviewer and member of various editorial board like Journal of Material Science and Engineering, Journal of Optics and Precision Engineering, and he is a life member in Indian Laser Association and annual member of SPI. Thank you, sir. Now I invite Dr. I.A. Parani to the session of the today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me to this forum. I'm highly delighted to discuss some of my strategies. I have been working at IIT Indore for the past 9 years. So almost after my postdoc, I joined IIT Indore as an assistant professor. So some of the strategies I have followed during my teaching career, so which I would like to discuss over here, so that we can see how the things can come up. So like I normally used to give a quote that meet and connect. So meet and connect is either it might be with meet and connect is something like with you as well as with my student friends, etc. So I used to follow this tag name, meet and connect. So why do we say this? Because in this pandemic situation, if you try to take it up, see, we all have a habit of during this pandemic situation, we are highly sincere enough to prepare our own courses. So we present the courses, but whether it is getting received on the other hand, so that we should be confident enough to know whether whatever we are giving an input, whether it is reaching on the other. So how to do that? So that is very challenging task as far as in this pandemic situation is concerned. Okay, so in my talk, so I would like to give my experience in terms of some of the key points, and from an offline course, and now how we are handling it in an online course. So which I would like to come back, like we are here to cater the students. So that is why we are called as teachers, we are called as lecturers, we are called as professors. So whatever tag name it is. So basically based on the standard, so our tag name also gets changes. But basically, if you try to look into it, we all are teachers. Like most of you, if you are having a kid, your kid's role model will be always his teacher, his or her teacher. The reason is he or she is the first person who is teaching them, who is learning them about some of the problem solving skills or about some of the problems faced by the children. See, if you see the overall environment or if you see the overall community, we consider leaders based on their preachers. Like leaders are always considered when they teach something when you are in some critical situation, so that you can take up their knowledge or take up their words, and then you can work on it. So that's how teaching is always being taken into consideration. So teaching is always considered to be on the top. So because a person, when he tries to, when he teaches in a very good way, then he is considered to be a very good researcher. So that is why normally IITs are flourishing, because IITs has a habit, and even other universities also emphasize that teaching and research should go parallel, because once teaching and research are going parallel, then there is a chance that, so whatever you are getting an update on a research, so that will be directly reaching to the community of the students where you are. Like normally there will be a question which comes into our mind, that whether industry is for, so you need to prepare the student for the industry. What do you mean that you need to prepare the student for the industry? So which means that tomorrow they are going to come up with new industries. So for that you are preparing them. It is not something like we are training them for the current industry. So these are the people who are going to change the industry scenario in due course. So the current industry 4.0 situations, we are training the students in such a way that, so when they work, they are being well entertained, or I would say they are being, their skills are well taken up in such a way that, so they will be catering the next generation of industry 4.0. So it is not something like they are made ready for the current scenario. So current scenario batch is being taken care well by the earlier decade. Okay. So as far as this student faculty interaction is concerned, so this is quite an interesting thing. Like there is always an expectation from the student side. So there is always an expectation from the faculty side. So as a faculty, like when I started my career in 2012, so it was something like I did my postdoc from abroad. So I was appointed here at IIT Indore. The day when I came on Jan 1st to India, and Jan 2nd I am joining IIT Indore. So Jan 2nd evening I was called and I was told that you need to take a course which I have not studied earlier. So that course was applied thermodynamics. So I was a bit worried. I don't know what to do. Second most important thing, since that was my first assignment, I was not interested to say no. So I thought, okay, let me just give a try. But I understand that I am taking a huge risk. So I think most of you might also have experienced such kind of turbulence in your life. So then what we thought is, so I framed a few strategies. So the first strategy was something like, my course was nearing, that is something around on Jan 5th, I need to start my first class. So I didn't had any notes, and within 2 days I need to prepare the notes. So first I need to understand the concept, and then I do it to prepare the notes. So what I thought is, so I will just prepare first 3-day notes, and then I will talk to the student. So I will learn from the student what are their expectations, so that 1 or 2 classes will go in understanding their learning capability, and then we go ahead further. So in order to understand their capability, so that is why we normally call it as, we teachers, we normally call it as setting up a platform. So how do we set a platform? So if we need to set a platform, so basically what we need to do is, we need to first interact with them on a fundamental level. That is, since the course which I took was on an advanced level, I had a privilege to discuss with them on a thermodynamic level. So first what I did is, I just had since I had a fundamentals on thermodynamics, I just brushed up it. So for the first 3 days, I was with their pace. So when you are going on a pace, so obviously what happens is, when you try to start brushing up your fundamentals of thermodynamics, so it was pretty good. And so one thing you also learn from them, you get the confidence. You start as a teacher, you start getting the confidence with the student. Student will also feel comfortable, because on the first day, he doesn't need to be poured with a new idea. So he will be made to brush up with his old idea. So whatever he has learned earlier, which he is also comfortable, and I am also comfortable. So in the meantime, it was highly helpful for me to read the mind. Okay. So here, there is one important thing, how to read a mind of a student. Okay. See, like most of us, we will be comfortable when I call you by name. Okay, like see, like in today's scenario, when I am just teaching it over here in an online mode, I see the names on your front panel, but I am not comfortable with. Instead of that, if there is a photograph of yours, so here immediately I can recognize your face, and I can recognize your face with your name. So this is how I can directly connect you. I can directly meet you, and I can just directly connect you. Okay, like in a similar fashion, most of us used to have a slight, what I would say, a kind of attitude that we are not much interested to read their names. Like, if you ask me, so do you remember all the 30 students' names whom you have taught in your first class? I would say that yes, to a certain extent, because the reason is it's better that we connect them with the face. So when we try to connect them with the face, so what happens is they come to a comfort zone. So when they come to a comfort zone, so it is easy for us to connect with them. Okay, so the same comfort zone will also, we need to provide the same comfort zone to them here also. So like in these kind of online talks, or when we try to give an online lecture, so it's better that it is very difficult for us to ask them to keep their video on, because they have their own issues because of bandwidth, etc. But at least as a minimum thing, they can just load their photograph as their profile picture. So when they load their photographs as a profile picture, so that you get an interaction with them and you know them by face. Like normally we teachers have I would say, and have an habit that we remember only two people. So one set of students will be the front benchers who are the meritorious student, and one set of students who are at the back, so who are mischievous. So so if you ask them by batch, like in 2012 or 2013, whom you have taught, so most of us will say this mischievous batch, this particular person, he has created some mischievous, with that I know that batch. Or sometimes we say this particular person has received a gold medal, so with that I know this batch. But in between, there are many people who are average and in between. Okay, we forget them. Okay. But as a teacher, so we should be able to connect them only when we recognize them by face. So, and you have a handful of around 6 months time in your hand, so it would be easy for you to get connected. So which normally we used to miss, but I would emphasize that we should follow that. Okay. So we should follow that. Second thing, which most important point we need to consider is, like most of us, when we try to take a class, so how interactive are we? So if we ask that question, like how do we practice our teaching? So anyone can unmute and say, how do you practice your teaching before going to your class? Let it be an interactive session. Should I need to call by name? Mr. Kirtivasa. Okay, I think so. Whoever can unmute and say, please. Oh, nobody is interested. Am I audible? Yes.
Sir, your voice is audible, sir.
Okay. So I think I'm not connecting to the people. So one important aspect which I would like to say over here is, if you want to really get connected, so you need to have an appropriate interaction. So in order to have an appropriate interaction, it is always better to ask many questions. I think one professor has unmuted and she wants to ask something. Yes, please. Okay. So as far as this meet and connect is concerned, so whenever you are trying to prepare a particular lecture, so normally how we normally used to get trained is we prepare our notes and we try to deliver our notes. So when we try to prepare our notes and when we try to deliver our notes, one important aspect we need to look into it is, so whether the opponent person is in a receiving front. So for that, first I would suggest this, like many people, where they used to say that before going for a lecture, so you should get trained in such a way that you take a mirror and you try to talk to the mirror. So when you try to talk to the mirror, so obviously what happens is it is very difficult for you to identify what kind of defect you are facing. Okay, but instead of that, nowadays you have a camera mobile phones which are available. You record your lecture. So when you try to record your lecture and when you try to play it back, so you can find or you can retune what are the mistakes which you are following it. So that is one important aspect which you may need to look into it. Okay. Second thing regarding the lecture point of view is concerned. So you can take it as an advice. Like if you have a 45 minutes lecture, always keep it in such a way that, see, students' mind will be concentrated only for 15 minutes, unless and until that lecture is a completely problematic. So if that is the case, the only option we can just think of is what you can do after 15 minutes, you need to give him a slight break, or I would say a slight pause. So that pause can be either in the form of some kind of distraction, so that when you give such kind of distraction, so immediately he comes out and then he comes back. So this is one kind of strategy which you can follow to make your concerned peer group to work in a particular domain. Fourth most important thing I would like to say is, see, normally when you try to start your lecture, so you always start with a good morning and with respect to the topic. But instead of that, if it is an objective oriented, then student will get a clarity. Like normally most of us, we used to have a habit of making a notes of lesson. So as far as this notes of lesson is concerned, so we used to say, in this week I will be covering this topic. So in this week I will be covering this topic, etc. But instead of that, if that instead of keeping it as a topic, if we can mention it with respect to an objective, like for example, I am a person handling manufacturing process. So if that is the case, so today if I'm going to talk about foundry, so if I need to talk about casting, or if I need to talk about foundry, then I can fix up my objective. So the one objective might be related to material perspective, one objective might be related to design of system perspective, one objective might be related to the overall performance perspective, so that it is easy for the student to grab what you are exactly trying to say. So it is always better to fix up your objectives and you just disclose the objectives to the student, and then you come back to it. Second thing which I would like to give, one of the important strategy which I follow during my teaching is, like if I have a complete lecture, I used to discretize my lecture into 4 subtopics. So like, because I have a 45 minutes lecture, so in a 55 minutes lecture, I divide by 4. So each 4 subtopic should be given an objective. So when each 4 subtopic is given an objective, so with respect to that, you can deliver the lecture, and after each subtopic, you can either go for an evaluation or you can go for a poll. Okay. So one option is you can directly go for some kind of polling technique, where you can say whether he has understood it, or you can just say some stories related to his application, so that he can easily pick up the value. So that is one option where you can directly connect with the students. Okay, so second thing which I would like to explain over here is making, like if I try to, you can just see this slide. So this is the overall slide, how we collaborate with our students. So as far as in this collaboration is concerned, so like one is basically when a student is trying to come into it, so you have a professional development which is being taken into consideration. You have a complete questioning based collaborative inquiry in your model. So when you have a question based collaborative inquiry in your model, so obviously appropriately you may need to decide some of the parameters catering your need. So some of the parameters catering your need in your collaborative inquiry is concerned. So one is your leadership and the capacity. Second is a structured collaboration. Third is a frequent data use. Fourth is instructional improvement. So if you closely observe these 4 points, first is, like for example, so I am a teacher. So one thing I can do is I can just make a group of different people. So with respect to the group of different people, like I'm just giving you I'm just asking you to make some to have a small discussion about the topic which I'm discussing. So if I want to give you a small process, or if I want to give you a small thought process with respect to the topic which I am giving, so obviously I will ask the students to formulate a group. So first thing I do when I'm going to the classes, so I will say that this is the objective. So with respect to the objective, you formulate the group. So now you are leaving it to them in such a way that let them formulate the group. So you have identified the group. So you give each problem to each group. So now they will start interacting it. So when they start interacting it, one important aspect which they need to learn is about leadership and capacity. So as far as leadership is and capacity is concerned, so we that when we are trying to make a group, so the people who are making a group should identify their leaders, their sub leaders, and their each key persons. Like for example, if I am giving a topic on something related to queuing theory to a student community, so the students formulate a group of around 5. So when the students formulate a group of around 5, so they decide their leader among the 5. So that particular leader's duty is to assign each subtopic to different students. So when each subtopic is assigned to different students, so if a time of 10 minutes is given to them, so 2 minutes, each and every student will individually identify the concerned literatures, and then they will interact among themselves after 2 minutes. And then the main objective of the leader is to collate the points. So the leader will try to collate the points, and then he will present it to the faculty in an appropriate way. So this is how a group activity is encouraged among the students. So with this way, so your interaction with the student also increase. Students interaction will also get empowered, and they will get the curiosity of working on the leadership. So you may ask me a question, how to do this in the current scenario? So in the current scenario, when you have a group of around, let us consider 120 students or 160 students, etc. So you can finalize the group. So you can just send a mail to the concerned students stating that this is your group today. You work upon it, and the day when you enter to the class, so you can just give the topic to them so that they can make a leadership capacity. Next, about a structured collaboration is concerned. See, a structured collaboration is an interesting area. Basically, there is no synergy, or there is no what I would say, a syntax which is available to create such kind of structured collaboration. So normally structured collaborations are being well taken care by their own. So that is one important aspect which they will be learning by their experience, and which we are there to guide them. So in the case of structured collaboration is concerned, so what should I need to do is, so I need to give them in such a way that, see, normally student has a habit of selecting their leaders, so that leader will be always the leader for each and every work. But it's always better to entertain them in such a way that whoever are the back, we consider it as a backbenchers, or whoever is not participating. So we pull them as one of the main key leader, and we ask them to collect the ideas. So what happens is, when in these kind of structured collaborations, like normally when you try to see an organization or a management, it's a kind of a pyramid. So in the case of a pyramid, so the top person will be always static. But here, what we are doing is, we are trying to mix it up in such a way that we are trying to shuffle the top person and the bottom person, so that you get a certain amount of variation coming out of it. And second thing, you get a proper mix, so that whatever thought process you are trying to deliver to the student, it goes equally to all the students. Okay. Third important aspect, which I would like to say, is frequent data use. Okay, so in this pandemic situation, internet is the only source where we are more concerned with, and we get huge amount of data from the internet perspective point of view. But in an offline environment, so as far as an offline environment is concerned, student normally goes to a library only to identify the books which is relevant to the particular subject. Like for example, I have a subject, so there will be a reference book and a reference book which will be referred. So if you see, you can take a data of your library about the picking up of books in a library. So you can easily observe that students will be more interested to take that particular book. But as a teacher, it's our duty for that we should train him to go for an overall perspective. So what I normally used to do is, so like I used to give a random topic. Some classes which are completely tutorial oriented, it will be conducted in the library. So what we do is, we take them to the library. So we give a problem to them. We ask them to solve it by taking up a concerned reference. It's up to them. They can formulate a group, or even they want to conduct it individually. It's up to them. So we leave it to them, so that this will give them the capability to go for a data use. Okay. So this not only this helps them, it also gives them a different mentality, like how to pick the data, or how to select the data for a particular application. Okay, so in fact, this we have also experienced, we have also experimented with other set of levels. So one set of level is something like this. We take them to an R&D center. So we ask them to explore the possible options. So it is not something like whenever an industrial visit goes, normally a teacher will accompany the student. So when the teacher accompanies a student, so we try to take them in a systematic way. But instead of that, you make them to mingle with the concerned scientists or concerned employees. So this will give them a more amount of interaction. And when you try to come back, so you can have a brainstorming session with them. So when you try to have a brainstorming session with them, so this not only helps them, it also helps them to kindle the ideas as well as technologies what they have in mind. So this is one aspect where we can have a complete data use. From the data use, we can just do it. Fourth important point is instructional improvement. So this instructional improvement, I normally used to consider this instructional improvement as I used to correlate this instructional improvement with my safety features. Like today, safety of students. See, like I'm not sure how many of you are aware about it. If you ask a student to open a fire extinguisher, many students are reluctant to open the fire extinguisher. But on a larger perspective, if you try to look into it, this kind of things will not work out. See, he should have a capability to approach the problem and he should be able to solve the problem. So this is not something like from our end that we are not giving the training for them to open a fire extinguisher, but instead we should also give him the curiosity to open it up, to give him an idea or to give him a free hand so that he can open up a fire extinguisher and he can work for it. Okay, so in fact, I would like to give my personal experience. Like when I was trained in Japan for my part of my PhD as well as for my postdoc, every 15 days once, so there will be a fire drill as well as some kind of safety training. So as we all know, Japan is prone for earthquake. So what normally the university used to do is, university will give a small drill. So basically suddenly an alarm will raise so that they will say that immediately how you are reacting, that is being trained in your body. So like as far as earthquake is concerned, so there normally they used to insist that the alarm sound will be completely different. When the alarm sound comes, you are asked to move under the table so that during the earthquake you are safe. And the second thing, if you have a different alarm, so and if there is a fire is there, immediately how your team reacts towards the fire extinguisher. But somehow I feel such kind of a system or such kind of training is required for our students also. So we normally used to take safety. We normally compromise on the safety. So only students are getting trained either in NSS or NCC camps regarding the safety. But in day-to-day, whenever we go for any kind of laboratory demonstrations or laboratory experiments, it's our duty as a faculty to give them the first class should be a detailed oversight about the safety. And so when they enter into the lab, so they should be taught about what are the different safety features they need to follow, and it should be made practice to them so that they follow that. Okay, so so this is one major point which I would like to put it over here. So as far as an overall picture is concerned, so this is the overall picture which basically takes care of the culture of the department or the culture of the entire college. Okay. So the next important strategy which I used to follow in my class is taking regular feedbacks. See, feedback in many circumstances, feedbacks are being considered just like that. Okay, like if you see once in a semester, we take the feedback. For example, I am a faculty, I am taking a course on instrumentation and control in one semester, and another semester I'm taking a course on mechatronics. Now, like when we take a feedback, normally we take the feedback from the student almost near to the end of the course. Okay, so when you try to take the feedback at the end of the course, what benefit does this batch gets? Nothing. Okay, and in fact, on the other hand, this question will be there on the student mind also. So student will write something and he will just give it to the faculty. It's now how the faculty has behaved with the student and how the student has taken the knowledge from the faculty. So that will be very well depicted over here. But in the meantime, next year he would have passed and he would not be the benefit. Okay. Whereas as an alternative approach, like why can't we take a feedback every 15 days once? Like what we normally used to do is, so this feedback will be having some kind of questionnaires. So these are some of the questions which normally I used to follow. Like it will be a kind of either or choice. So So either there, so that with these choices, somehow we can just identify the mentality. In fact, this I took it from one reference which I was following earlier. And before this reference, normally I used to go ask them to write in a piece of paper. So whenever they write in a piece of paper, so they don't mention their name or they don't mention their role ID. So it will be their thought process. So, and most important thing, so when for taking up a feedback of a faculty is concerned, the faculty wants to have a very good connect with the student. So it's better to take the feedback at regular intervals. So that regular intervals, it's up to the discretion of the faculty how he is going it up. So in my case, normally I go in this way that every 2 weeks once I used to conduct an assessment. After the assessment, I take their feedback, because assessment is a point where exactly you know where they are, how confident they are on the subject. So like when we are teaching, so some people will be highly confident, okay, they understand that, okay, things are proper. But when it comes to an assessment point of view, they will have, so their confidence levels are checked at the assessment. So when their confidence levels are checked at the assessment, when you give your feedback, so their true opinion about the faculty, about its teaching will be very clear. So this assessment, this feedback will highly helpful for us to improve our capability. And so that, like in the first set of regular assessment, we get the feedback. Then we run for next 2 weeks with a course and with respect to the feedback. And then we try to get the feedback in the next assessment. So what happens is this kind of feedback will be highly helpful for us to get connected with our student, as well as in the meantime, this also helps us to refine our teaching capability. So that our feedback, when we try to collect the feedback at the end, so we don't need to worry about any of the process, because at this time, so you would have justified, or you would have almost made happy, you would have justified the student with an appropriate level. So that is one important aspect as far as student survey result is concerned. In fact, this is one of the student survey results. So one important aspect with this feedback is, earlier I used to collect the feedback and I used to read it and I used to improve it. Later, what I thought is, why should I not discuss this feedback with the student? Because here, student name is not mentioned in the feedback. But instead of that, if I could make the student feedback in the form of such kind of bar chart, and if I try to present to them, so they will also understand where they are made. See, like it comes something like this. Like you're trying to put your thought process, you're trying to share the results what they have given. You're trying to share the poll what they have given to you. So when you try to share the poll, so they understand where they are. So basically, it is a mixed review, or it is a kind of some kind of positive review, or it's a kind of a negative review, so that they will also correct themselves. And then in the next feedback, so they also understand that where exactly they are making mistakes, and they will try to correct it on their own. So this is one of the strategies which I felt that which helps us to connect it to the student directly, and this will also have a very good interaction with the students, so that it helps you to directly give your topic to the student. Okay. So as far as this overall perspective of the student community is concerned, so I normally used to take it up in this way. Like I used to discretize my overall tutor focus with respect to three or four themes. One theme is something related to an initial uncertainty about being an effective peer tutor. So like so this is one important aspect. See, if I just to recollect, in my first class, so I have told that, so I'll be I took 3 days to gain their confidence. See, first 3 to 4 days is the confidence building region, or the building zone between faculty and the student, so that when the confidence gets built with the student and the faculty, then obviously the student will have his own interest in start interacting with the faculty, okay, in a much comfortable way. So in fact, your first 3 to 5 day class is going to matter a lot. So it is not more to do with the content what you are delivering. It is more to do with the comfort zone, how you are bringing the comfort zone to the student. So that is one important aspect which we may need to take it in our mind. So just to give you in a clear cut, if I would like to say, we are here for the student. So obviously, to make the student in a comfort zone is our first objective. To make the student in a comfort zone, to make student in a comfort zone. So one important aspect which we need to look into it, we need to listen to him. So if we need to listen to him, means then we need to come to a fundamental level where we the faculty and the student are in the same platform. So when the faculty and student are in the same platform, so it is easy for the student to read the mind of the faculty and appropriately he will behave. And the faculty will also get an overview about the complete lot, and he will also get connected with the complete lot, and this will be highly helpful for him to proceed further. Okay. In fact, most of us used to have a habit of taking attendance. So when we try to take an attendance, what we normally used to do is we either read by name or by roll number. Okay. But one of the senior most professor in our institute, so he almost advised me in this way: when you prepare an attendance sheet, always prepare an attendance sheet with the photograph and the name. So don't mention the roll number. You prepare the attendance sheet with the photograph and the name. So when you try to prepare the attendance sheet with the photograph and the name, so what happens is when you try to read the name, so automatically the face will get registered in your mind. So this is some kind of process, or I would say this is some kind of exercise which also helps us to get connected with the student. So like when a student is passing by, you can easily recollect him with a name. So when you call him by a name and when you try to talk to him, he gets the confidence, and whatever issue he has, he normally comes and talks to you. So this is one important strategy which helps us to connect it with the student. In fact, that is why I normally used to insist, even in an online mode, it is always better to put their profile picture in the during such kind of classes, so that this will be highly helpful for us to connect it with the student. Second thing is benefits of having a supportive team. So this is one area which basically I normally indulge. See, we college teachers, so we normally we are slightly away from school teachers. So school teachers will train them for their punctuality, for their proper behavior, etc. Whereas we as a college teacher should impart them about the social interactions. Okay. So because this is where exactly they are coming out of the junior college and they are entering into the college level. So it's our duty to make them a good citizen in this society. So that happens when we should train them, or we should teach them how to interact with the community. So here their community is something like their friend circle. So even though they are good in their friend circle, but still, as far as a problem skilling point of view, so we should able to interact with them in such a way that we ask them to make a group and we try to shuffle the group. In fact, I understand that this is a kind of an extra effort what we are putting it up, but you try to put this extra effort, you will be satisfied and you will be happy to interact with the student. And most important thing is, student will remember you for a lifelong, because this is a kind of culture which you are trying to impart on him. Most important thing is, when these people form a team or form a group, their understanding will be very good. In fact, you can experiment it with your peer group. When you try to form a group and when you give them an objective and when you ask them to discuss, you will get more amount of questions. So when they give more amount of questions, so obviously that will also encourage you to learn upon. So this is one important aspect with respect to creating a team, basically catering them to develop a team building, so that which will be helpful for them to proceed further. Okay. Third important thing which I would like to say is gaining a new skill and appreciation for teaching. See, I started with this, a person is always being named well when he tried to teach it to his peer community. Okay, so that we should also impart to our own students. So if we need to impart to our own students, so what we need to do is we should inculcate the concept of teaching to them. So basically, like we give an example and we ask them to present it before the community with a group as well as before the community. So, and we should give an appropriate appreciation to them then and there. See, our appreciation should be in this way, that either you can give it in the form of a small gifts, or even a wording in front of the community will be highly helpful for them, or it will motivate them to go on a higher level. In fact, I would like to put my point in this way. Like see, as a teacher, I know I will be as a teacher, as a human being, we will be having our own favoritism. Like, so some students will be so close to us, some students will not listen to us. By appreciating these people, appreciating the students, and when you try to appreciate it in an equal manner, so what happens is the uniformity among the students is well maintained. In fact, this I learned this particular strategy I learned from a Japanese professor. So what he normally used to do is, so he will make a bowl of numbers, and he will just put it in the classroom, front of the classroom. So when the students come, he will ask them to pick the numbers. So when he asks them to pick the numbers, so in each and every desk there will be a number which will be pasted. So he will ask the student to sit in that particular arrangement. So when the students sit in a particular arrangement, each day they are shuffled. So when each day they are shuffled, and when you try to make a group, so obviously you get a mix of the complete spectrum. So when you try to get a mix of a complete spectrum, so your appreciation will also try to get mixed, as well as it will also be equally distributed. Second most important aspect is the barrier between them will be completely removed. So see, first on their level, they should be comfortable enough. Then only they will, when they reach the comfort zone, they will be coming out of the box, and then they will be talking into it. So our motto is to make them on a comfort zone. So obviously this will be highly helpful for them to mingle each other and to have a discussion with each other with respect to the technology, or with respect to the topic which we are going to discuss. Okay. So next, fourth important thing is challenging in playing a dual role. See, normally, as far as in this process is concerned, so I would like to discuss one important point. Like, we will be always on a platform where we try to deliver the lecture, but we should understand their scenario also. So normally, most of teachers, so they used to get here to the students individually. Okay, but in vice versa, I would like to put it in this way. So like, whenever you are forming a group, I would suggest that some groups will not be participating in a much enthusiastic way. So at that time, it is always better that as a faculty, we sit with that group, and when we try to discuss with them, so that particular group will start working upon. Okay, so this is one important aspect which as a faculty we should take that extra mile. So when we try to do this, the student will be comfortable enough, and he will be happy to have a discussion with you with whatever problems he is facing. So this is one important aspect which I normally used to emphasize from this. So in fact, as a faculty, I feel that these are some of the skills which skill sets for a faculty which is always being reported at different levels. So one set of skill set is something related to in the early I would say 1970s. So these are some of the important skill sets which were considered for a faculty So one is with respect to writing, with respect to computation, then with respect to reading, oral communication, listening, personal career development, creative thinking, leadership, goal setting, teamwork, organization, problem solving, etc. But today, if you see, so those are being, so whichever we considered as a least are being kept as a top level, and the writing and computation is always being considered as the next level of the system. So here, the most important thing which I would like to say is teamwork. Building teamwork is an important aspect which we need to take up in our mind, and that teamwork we should impart to the student so that the student will get the benefit out of it. In fact, so I normally take it, this is my personal opinion, which I normally used to say, today the student community who are there in the colleges are going to be the next level citizens who are going to decide the next level community. So it's our duty to make them mingle with the community and make them comfortable with the community. So this helps them not only to prepare a very good level of a society, as well as it also makes them more realized citizen. Okay, so these are some of the collaborations which I would like to put it up basically. So like normally whenever we are trying to go for so we as an engineering faculties, so we emphasize more on problem solving skills with respect to project. Okay, so in my course also normally I used to have a separate grade for projects. So this project is something like this. For example, if it's a 100-mark course, in that 100-mark course, 20 marks will go only for projects. So in this project, two important aspects I will take it up, or two important aspects I emphasize. One is low cost. Second one is the product what you are developed should have a direct relevance to the society. Okay. So as far as low cost is concerned, like I fix up the amount. So basically, I deal with instrumentation control course. So I just tell them for a group of 4, you need to spend only 500 rupees. So approximately 125 per head. And you should emphasize marks will be given to you based on the waste recycling concept. So if you try to take a waste and if you try to make a product, then you will be emphasized more. Okay, so this is a kind of strategy which I follow with respect to my particular field, but it varies with respect to different fields. So if you are from humanities, obviously you may need to follow a different field. Okay, but this project-based learning or this project-based working will be highly helpful for them to understand, or I would say that it will give a different perspective to them. So if I try to look into the overall parameter of it, so what I take it as, so this design, so I go for a rigorous evaluation with respect to these parameters. So basically, this initial design will be given by them. So that design will be redesigned with respect to a discussion. So that discussion will be throughout the class level. So this initial idea will be framed by the group. Designing and redesigning will be taken care by the entire peer group within the class. Third important aspect is the implementation, because implementation plays a major role. So most of us, we used to work on research problems, but how many of us take the research problem to the final end means very meager amount of percentage only will take the research problem to the final end. Either it might be because of our commitment or sometimes because of the lack of resources. But it is always better that we insist our student to take the product till the final level. So that means they should implement it and they should make it as a working model. So when they try to make it as a working model, which is suitable to the community, so what happens is they will get an idea what are the parameters they need to consider for redesigning. So that is what I normally consider as a reflection and an evaluation. So a reflection is nothing but, so whatever they make it, they try to put it in the community, so they get the feedback. So with respect to the feedback, they should be able to come up with the final product. In fact, this will give them an overview, or I would say that this will help them to understand the society. See, like any subject is concerned, so irrespective of the domain, whatever domain you take, so the student should get that the feel about the importance of that particular subject with respect to the community. So that can happen by giving them more amount of projects. So when you try to give up with a live project, or when you ask them to come up with a live project, so they will understand the importance of that particular subject towards the community. And like when they understand the subject, then it is easy for them to gain an interest towards the subject and they come back. Like for one example, I will tell you. There is a subject called engineering drawing. Like it's a very good subject. Like when I used to do my engineering, this engineering drawing was a subject for almost all the people. Either you take a computer science, either you take IT, biotechnology, anything. People have to learn that subject. Okay. But slowly, that interest towards the subject was taken out, and later in some universities, that subject was being taken out for that subject is taken out for computer science and IT, circuit branches. We call it as circuit branches. See, but the interesting aspect of that subject is the reason what I felt is the teacher who taught that subject to the circuit branches were not doing a proper justification. So that might be the reason it was taken out, because as far as that subject is concerned, if you try to look that subject in early 1970s, that subject will be having a wide spectrum. So one spectrum will be towards electrical, one spectrum will be towards civil, one spectrum will be towards machine, one spectrum will be towards a natural imagination. Okay, so but slowly when years passed out, so we lost the interest and we felt that why we need to study this subject. Okay, but if that subject is a very good subject, in fact, that subject will give a perspective to the student how he needs to think. See, you have a complete sheet. Within the sheet, you are trying to draw the different views, etc. So which means that you are trying to optimize the space. within the particular region. And second thing, it will give you an understanding about the measurements, about your visualization, etc. So like that, many subjects are there. In fact, I'm sorry to say this, like in many institutes nowadays, workshops are not considered. Like they give you an option, either you can go for a workshop or you can take a theory course. But workshop is also a very interesting subject where, as an engineers, they should be able to learn many things. So under workshop also you have a different domain. So with respect to civil, with respect to electrical, with respect to electronics, etc. Anyway, so it's our duty to educate the student and to emphasize the importance of the student with respect to the community. Then they will enjoy the subject. This is one point from my end. So, and apart from that, we always so this is what I was just talking about. Like there should be a kind of a community collaboration. So like how we are trying to organize, how we are trying to develop, how we are trying to identify the particular problem, we review and we allow them to interact with the community or with the society with respect to that particular subject, so that they get trained out of it. Okay, so second one important aspect with respect to this pandemic situation is concerned. So whatever I had discussion, so it had a mix of pandemic as well as with respect to an offline course. Whereas in the current pandemic situation, I think almost 1 year we have been running with online courses, and now we are expected that we may go for offline, but we are not sure. So probably next semester may also go for online. Two important aspects which I feel is compared to the faculty community, students community are a bit frustrated, because one thing which I would like to say is earlier their frustrations were shared. So they had a good amount of friend circle, so they could interact. But now if you feel, since they are being well constrained within a home environment, so they will be having a slight amount of frustration. So it's our duty to make them comfortable. So one thing which I would say is you introduce them to the social media. Okay, so there is no harm in that. Like today, even in today's lecture, if you see, so we are going for a live relay in YouTube. Okay, so but this is not our traditional way. So our traditional way is something like we have a classroom, a teacher will be interacting with the participants, and then we try to give some notes and we try to work on. Okay, but this is going to be a very good platform for us. So where we also try to develop and we also ask them to develop. See, like most of the students are well versed with this Facebook group, as well as with YouTube or any other LinkedIn, etc. So it's our duty to teach them how to use that group in an efficient way. Like I will just give you an example. So today we are talking about an industry 4.0. There is a company which has created a Facebook account for each of its machines. Okay, so which you might be surprised about it, because the reason is those machines are intelligent machines. It gives huge amount of data. Cyber threat for those machines are a critical thing. So they have created a profile for each and every machine, and they have made an arrangement in such a way that those data are being collected in Facebook. Okay. So what happens is here the cyber threat is pretty reduced because you are trying to keep it in an open platform. And second thing is it is easy for an interaction between a machine-to-machine interaction. In fact, the entire platform is being taken care of by Facebook. Okay, so such kind of examples we should be able to give them. So basically, we should be able to teach them about how to use the social media in an effective way for their particular subjects, or as well as for their particular problems. Okay, so one important aspect which I would like to say is about writing a blog. So this blog, writing a blog will try to enrich them. So like even you can ask them to create a separate individual blog, and they can give their own inputs about what they have learned and what are their perspectives. So this will try to and you can just view the blog and you can give comments to them. So in fact, this will be helpful for them to bring out their ideas, their thought process, which will refine it, and this will be highly helpful for you to connect them. Second most important thing which I normally used to do, since my subject is towards instrumentation and automation, I ask them to make simple circuits, make it as a small video, and we have a Facebook page. So in that Facebook page, I ask them to post it. So what happens is this will give them some kind of encouragement. So when they try to come up with some kind of idea, they try to post it. And since it is on an open platform within our institute, so our institute people also gives their input so that they are well connected with the community. Even though in this pandemic situation, they are well connected with the community. Most important point is, as a faculty, it's my duty to connect them whenever they want. So that is only possible if I have a proper WhatsApp group. Okay, so how much ever people you have, it's better that before you start your first class, please formulate a WhatsApp group for the student, because this will be helpful for them to highly get connected with you. And then whenever there is a difficulty, they can post it individually or they can just post it, so that you can have a complete interaction. So this is one important aspect. So these are some of the digital collaborations which I would like to explain about it. So with this, I would like to end my lecture over here. And these are some of my interaction models, so which I would like to brief. So if I try to come back, so some strategies which I follow is towards their personal touch with respect to their feedback and with respect to their response opportunity. Most important is to collect the feedback at regular intervals will give them the confidence. And our main objective is to make the student on a comfort zone, so that when they are on a comfort zone, so they realize themselves and it helps them to develop on that. So with this, I would like to close my lecture. So I would be happy to address any kind of questions.
So any questions from participants? So kindly unmute yourself, ask the question. So any questions? So otherwise you put the question chat box.
The chat box.
So chat box is enabled. Please post your questions in chat box. So any of the questions?
Okay, so I will just type my email ID. So in case if you would like to write any questions to me, you are free to write. Okay. And I'm just giving my mobile number also, so you can just contact me for any kind of if you would like to give any kind of inputs related to these strategies, I would be happy to accept it, and I would be happy to explain.
So thank you, sir. Thank you for your informative presentation, sir. Thank you for spending your valuable time with us. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful presentation. And thanks a lot on behalf of Sairam Institution, faculties, and the participants. Once again, I thank for your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. So I am signing off from here. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank
Yes,
you,
okay,
sir. Thank you, sir. ಇವರು ದಕ್ಷಿಣಂ ಸರ್ ಹೊಂಟಾರ ಸರ್ சார்
அவர் ஃபோன் பண்ணி பேசிட்டேன், வந்துடுறேன்னு சொல்லியிருக்காரு. 11:30 வந்துடுறேன்னு சொல்லியிருக்காரு.
ஓகே சார். So participants, please kindly stay. 11:30.
Next session, we'll have a next session at 11:30.
What session will start?
Okay.
வந்திருக்கோம்ல அப்படிதானே?
குட் மார்னிங்
பார்ட்டிசிபென்ட்ஸ் யாரா இருக்காங்கன்னு பார்ப்போம். இருக்காங்களே, நிறைய பேர் இருக்காங்க.
64 பேர் இருக்காங்க.
இப்ப எத்தனை மணிக்கு ஸ்டார்ட் ஆகும்?
11:30க்கு.
11:30க்கு நெக்ஸ்ட் மீட்டிங்கா? அதனால இப்படி இருக்காங்களா? நெட் எம்புட்ரா போறதுடி உங்களோட
Sir, Arun Kumar, sir.
சார் சரவணன் சார் சொல்லுங்க சார். ஹலோ.
சார் கனெக்ட் ஆயிட்டாரு.
ஓகே சார், ஓகே சார். சார் குட் மார்னிங் சார். அஸ்ஸலாமு சார். சார்
சார் தக்ஷணாமூர்த்தி சார்.
Sir, good
Hello.
morning, sir. Dakshinamurthy,
Good
sir.
morning, sir. Good morning. Good
Good morning,
morning.
sir. Thank you for accepting our invitation, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, it's a pleasure, sir. It's a pleasure.
Okay, shall we start, sir?
Yes, sir. One moment. I'm trying to. Okay, okay. So, is it possible to share the PowerPoint presentation, or like no, we will have a
Sir, I make you co-host, sir.
host.
Dakshina,
All right.
in the name of Dakshina, sir.
That's right, sir. That's right.
So now you are able to share your screen.
Oh,
Sir.
one moment. I'm attempting to share. One moment. Okay. I'm facing a little technical difficulty in sharing the presentation. How shall we go about it, sir? Google Drive.
Sir, can you mail me? I will share.
One moment. One moment. Can you? One moment, sir. One moment. Let me try it once again. Google Drive. Okay. Okay. Sir, one moment.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can take one time, sir.
So, can I have your mail ID, sir?
Yes, sir.
Can you spell that for me, please?
Arun Kumar, ARUN
Okay.
KUMAR. Arun
K
Kumar
U M A R. Okay.
dot mech dot MECH mech
MECH
dot at the rate of Sairam, SAIRAM, Sairam,
Okay. Okay.
IT
IT.
dot edu
Okay.
in, sir. edu dot in.
Dot IN. Right. Okay.
Arun Kumar dot mech at the rate of Sairam
At the rate of
IT dot
dot edu dot in. Right.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. I have sent one presentation, sir, which is available in my mail at this point in time. I'm facing a technical difficulty. I'm really sorry about that. Couldn't share it. I don't know why. I kept everything ready, but again, this is not getting shared in the screen. That's the problem which I'm facing now. So you can
Okay.
download the presentation, and we will start, getting into it, sir. So
Okay.
I'm ready now. I'm ready.
Okay. 1 second. 1 second, sir. I will share, sir.
Arun, sir?
Yes, sir. One second. I will share, sir.
Hmm. All right. Okay. Okay. We'll have it here itself. No problem, sir. Yes, sir. So, are we going to have any official introduction, or we will move forward with the session, sir?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes.
We'll,
Yes, sir. Yes,
we
sir.
will.
We have an official introduction, formal introduction.
Okay. Okay.
Arun Kumar, sir. Arun Kumar, sir.
Sir, my voice is audible. Sir, my voice is audible.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. Audible, audible.
My okay, sir.
Shall we
Okay,
start?
very good morning to one and all present here. It's my, yes, sir. My voice is audible, sir.
Yes,
Yes.
sir. Your voice is clear, audible, beautiful.
Okay, okay. Welcome, Dr. G. Saranan, sir, to introduce our today's speaker, Dakshinamurthy, sir. I welcome Dr. Saranan, sir, to give the introduction.
A very good morning to one and all present here. It's an immense pleasure to invite Mr. Dakshinamurthy P. From Madras Training Factory for the session 2 of second day 6 days ACT ISC sponsored online induction refresher program on strategies in teaching and learning. I am very much delighted to introduce our second day speaker, Mr. P. Dakshinamurthy, NLP transformational coach, a startup consultant, environmental activist, founder and CEO of Madras Training Factory. Madras Training Factory is a transformational training organization headquartered at Chennai. The purpose of the organization is to design, develop, and deliver transformational training programs and concepts for the betterment of human race. Mr. Dakshinamurthy, a licensed master NLP practitioner, certified and registered member at NFNLP, Florida, United States of America. And he has completed master's degree with psychology as a specialization. He is an Indian Management Fellow and has been awarded the Best Leader Award in the leadership camp conducted by CDFA affiliated to Cambridge University, United Kingdom. He is an executive panel member for McKinsey Quarterly, USA, and he has implemented projects across India through ICT Academy of Tamil Nadu on the areas of youth entrepreneurship development, faculty empowerment, institutional leadership development, and student skill development. He is an affirmative action trainer with the Tata Consultancy Services, and is a BOT consultant for organizations like Medical Career Academy UK, WeCare, and Elysium BPO Services Private Limited, Leadership Educators and Development Services Private Limited, India Trust, and Karuvi Trust. And he has been institutional brand building consultant for Royal Park Matriculation School, Shazamwal CBSE School, and Goodwill Matriculation School. A steering committee member on Delta Rehabilitation Committee. And he is having industry experience of more than 2 decades in training and consulting. And he has trained thousands of students, faculty members, corporate professionals, entrepreneurs, and individuals towards excellence. And he is an active naturalist, Sufi poet, and humanitarian. And with this, may I call upon Mr. P. Dakshinamurthy to take over the session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saravan, Dr. Arun, and the management of Sairam. Good morning to all the faculty members who are here, joined me today for another 1 hour's time to discuss on how to use NLP for effective facilitation. I'm really super excited about meeting you all and sharing insights on this rare technology which is less explored but still works big time for a lot of professionals across the world, especially in the domain of education. So shall we straight away get into the presentation? If you all are ready, I would appreciate if you type yes on the chat box so that we will get into the presentation. Great, great. And amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you. So we'll move on to the next slide, sir. Move on to the next slide. Next slide, please. So considering the time available, I'm skipping certain slides and activities in the presentation. Kindly bear with me. So now we have a screen out here about learning experience and learning retention. We know all this, right? Basically, when this is how the learning happens. Learning retention will happen 10% when we hear. This is a scientific data which is available at this point in time. That learning retention will happen when you hear some content, it would be 10%, and when you hear and see some content, it's going to be 30%, and when you hear, see, and feel the content, it's going to be 40%, and when you reproduce, the learning retention would be 70% to max of 100%. This is the data available to us. And I believe the core area of this entire 6 days or 6 days training is on teaching strategies and understanding learning styles and all that, right? So that is why I'm starting with this information. So effective facilitation requires a content which can be seen, which can be heard enough, which can be realized, which can be internalized, so that they will have an emotional connect with the learning, right? See, as a faculty members, most of the times we have problem in dealing with the students, especially when coming to understanding their behavioral patterns, understanding their learning styles, and then adopting a effective facilitation methodology to really make them to feel, see, hear the content. So NLP is one technology which is called neuro linguistic programming, because the name itself is clearly revealing, neuro is like the patterns of behavior, patterns of thinking, patterns of feeling, patterns of learning. There is a routine pattern we have for anything and everything. So likewise, the student is also having a pattern of behavior, which is a deep subconscious competency for him, I would say. It's a repeated habit, repeated pattern of thinking, and there is a routine, way that this, that learning happens end of the day. So there is a neural pathway for learning. If we can understand that neural pathway, and if we can program that neural patterns, meaning if we can delete, if we can modify, if we can install some new thought process into that mind, which will break the routine patterns. So using structured linguistic patterns. So this is what NLP is all about. You use structured language patterns, linguistic patterns in our facilitation to program their behavior, to program their learning, to program their thinking. What I mean by programming, you install new thoughts, you break the routine patterns of the way how they learn and all that. So it requires a deeper understanding where NLP is going to play a vital role in enhancing the learning, in having a better understanding, and thereby to have a effective facilitation. Okay. So next slide, sir. Next slide, please. Okay, this is a beautiful, question which I wanted to throw to you all, and I might take 2 minutes of your time to think about it. See, when we facilitate, we use this powerful tool called communication. So the power of your communication, power of your facilitation is very, very, very important. It is equally proportional to the power of their learning, power of the shift, power of the change, which you wanted to incorporate into. Next slide, sir, please. This one. So when we communicate, normally what happens is that we give information to them. In the process of giving knowledge to them, normally, like, the communication process, what happens is that most of the times it will be perceived as just information. Hope you all connect with what I'm talking out here. So when we communicate, say for example, if I'm going to deliver 1 hour presentation, we listen to the presentation and we take the key information out of it, and we comprehend certain things out of this communication. But in NLP is a very, very powerful tool which can be deployed in your facilitation process, especially in the process of classroom communication, where you convert the information into an experience, meaning how to choose right words in the right sequence, how to structure your language pattern in the process of your facilitation, so that it will not just hit them as just information. Okay, the communication should create an emotional connect in the minds of the customer, meaning in the minds of the students. Your communication should give them an experience about what we are talking. Your communication should give perceptions to them. So this is where neuroscience comes into the picture. What we are going to teach remains the same. Subject content, or whatever, like, knowledge which we wanted to give to them, the purpose of that particular communication will be achieved only when we establish emotional connect, only when we make them involved, only when we create a curiosity, only when we, like, trigger their curiosity quotient, right? So how to trigger that curiosity quotient, how to bring that emotional connect, how to convert this information, the knowledge what we are going to give to them, how to convert that information into an experience, so that we will trigger different perspectives. In nutshell, how to use the power of words, how to deploy NLP into your facilitation, so that you can have a better understanding about their inner world, and thereby how to facilitate accordingly, and to hit them, go close to them, connect close to them, make them to receive, make them to accept us, and all this is actually possible when you understand, like, this concept of NLP, deploying NLP in your facilitation, right? So next slide, sir. Next slide, please. Okay, so before getting into like facilitation, see, I'm going to discuss one important content with you. The objective is to establish two important things. If I could give an understanding about this, then the session what we are having will be really, really meaningful. One, by understanding the concept what we are discussing, what we are going to discuss out here, will give a better insight about understanding the different learning styles. See, there are multiple intelligence theories available, and people talk about different learning styles when coming to child psychology, understanding student psychology, and all that. But here we are coming in from a very different perception called sensory experience, right? So by understanding the sensory experience, you can easily understanding the different styles of their learning, different personalities, and thereby also you can adopt a strategy in your communication to facilitate based on. Hello, hello, am I audible? Hello.
Sir, your voice is audible, sir. Yes, sir.
Fantastic.
Yes, sir.
So I was talking about two important areas, two important objectives. One, understanding the different learning style based on NLP concept. That is the first thing which I wanted to discuss with you all. And second thing is, after understanding the learning style, after understanding their inner world based on understanding their learning style, how to deploy effective facilitation strategies, so that there will be a better learning happening, there will be a better facilitation happening. End of the day, the purpose of the facilitation is achieved effectively, right? So we'll move on to the next slide, sir. So ultimately, like, I'm going to discuss with you all about a beautiful topic called sensory based communication, where your communication is going to target their senses. Thereby your words will be converted into a sensory experience. So in the process of your facilitation, whatever content you might be talking to them, end of the day, it's an art of converting that information into an experience, giving them a sensory connect, wherein they see, hear, feel the learning, and end of the day they will get more associated, more connected with the learning process, more connected with the facilitation as well as the facilitator, right? So next slide, sir. Please, next slide, sir. Great. So this is one important framework which you are seeing in your screen now. This is the basic framework how learning happens to a kid, right? So I'll just take another 5 to 10 minutes time, because this is where you'll get a deeper understanding about what I'm talking out here, right? See here, what I mean by external event is like the facilitation which is happening outside, how this knowledge transfer process, how this facilitation enters into a student's mind, and then what kind of process is happening in between, and then how this external event is going to get registered inside as an internal representation. Thereby this internal representation is going to be a deep subconscious competency which will be helpful for them, which can be deployed in for the future learning purpose. It's very simple. Say like we are giving say we are communicating to them, so this 5 senses is the gateway of our information. Whatever in that 40-minute session, whatever we are giving to them, this information is entering into their mind or entering into their world, or this external event is entering into their world through this 5 senses. It's very natural, right? Like the information, they see the information, see you presenting things, they hear whatever you are speaking, and they feel the content. And in certain situations, the external event also enters into our system through olfactory and gustatory also, meaning they smell the external experience, they taste the external experience, right? So this 5 senses, so if you could target this 5 senses, naturally it will be very easy for you to create a compelling experience for them when they process your learning through these 5 senses. So when your facilitation, when your communication has the power to influence this 5 sense, naturally better learning is highly possible. So that's what end of the day we are going to discuss out here, and in detail we are going to discuss only about this as we have only 1 hour's time. We'll discuss predominantly about this representational systems. In NLP we call this 5 senses as representation system, because this represents the experience in their internal world. Whatever experience they take from the external world, they represent it in the forms of images, in the forms of sounds, in the forms of feelings predominantly, and also in certain cases in the form of smell and taste. They take the experience into their internal world, and from there the next process will be filtering the information. So when this information enters into the system, there is a lot of filtering happens. Say for example, they generalize the information they receive, they distort, they delete, they assume, they refer to their past experience, they will become judgmental and future anxieties. All this are the filtering process which will be happening in the student's mind. Meaning, I repeat the conversation, external event, the facilitation, what is happening outside, enters into a student's mind. This learning enters into the student's mind through 5 senses that we discussed already. After this process, before getting this experience, before getting embedded into the subconscious, there are certain filtering processing happens. So when you talk about astrophysics, or when you talk about physics, or any subject for that matter, it enters in the forms of images, sounds, and feelings into that system, and then there is a filtering happens. They generalize the information what they receive, they distort it also. At times, most of the times, they delete the information there itself, And as I also added a lot of things like, assumption happens there. They become prejudgmental there in taking the things inside, and they also refer to the past experience what they have in that system already. So this is the filtering process, which I don't want to get into detail, because what we're going to talk about is sensory based communication. But still, you have to understand this framework. That's why I'm giving the information. So after this filtering, and there is another things also there in this internal world, which is called as values, beliefs, this norms, this choices, all this are there. So based on this only, he values the facilitator, he values the facilitation, he processes the information. If there is an emotional connect happens, if it is presented properly to target their senses, give them a, a compelling experience, all these filters will not happen. Naturally, the learning will enter into their internal world as internal representations, and that will create a understanding, that will create an insight, that will build a world about that learning in their mind for future references. Very simple. So external event facilitation happens, it enters into their mind through five senses, and there is a filtering happens, and finally this information gets embedded into their subconscious as learning. The better the facilitation, meaning more sensory experience that we can create about the learning, meaning uh, more communication in forms of images, sounds, and feelings, it will give a compelling effect to them. Less filtering happens, and more learning enters into that system. Learning retention will be more. Okay. So with this understanding, I'm going to talk about this sense. See, it's all about sensory based communication in your facilitation, right? So how to understand this representation systems, these five senses, and thereby how to understand the nature or learning style of your student, and also how to convert your communication as a sensory experience to your students, so that it will give a hypnotic effect, mesmerizing effect, or a better learning can be achieved. That's what we are going to discuss now, right? So, so far, is it okay? Are we clear? If you are clear with whatever we discussed so far, can I have a S on the chat box so that we will move forward with the discussion? If you have any doubts also, you can chat it on the box. Amazing. Thanks for the response, Professor Balasubramani. Great. So shall I proceed with the conversation? Because once you understand, once you have a better understanding about this, it will be very easy for me to take it forward. Great. Amazing. Okay. Right. I'm going to move to the further discussion of it. So here there are two important things. One, you have to understand what is representation system, how it works, how to use this representation to understand the learning style of your kids, and their internal world, their personality type, their learning styles, and all this. That's one part of it. And the other part of it, how to modify your communication process according to their representational systems, right? So first part is understanding the representation and thereby understanding their learning styles. Second part is how to modify your communication process, meaning how to convert the information into a sensory experience for your audience, so that learning retention happens at the optimal level. As simple as that. Great. So we will discuss about this representation system now. As I already told you, this external event of learning is entering into a student's mind through five senses, and visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory. These are all the five representational systems where the learning enters into the world of the student, right? So in this visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory, we have divided this into two areas. One, predominant rep system, meaning they use predominantly, and there will be a secondary rep system also. So in this five representation systems, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, or predominant. Okay, wherein olfactory or gustatory are going to be secondary, because in the nowadays in this fast moving world, though we have five senses, though we take information through five senses, but predominant information enters into our system only through this VAK, meaning visual, auditory, kinesthetic. Visual is in the form of images, meaning they see the information. When you present, they see you real time. Visually, they have an image out there, dressed like this, and there is a perception. All this comes into the picture. They process the informations through their visual mode. That is what is called visual representation, right? And second thing is auditory. Like I have someone raising hand, Mr. Chidambaram. Do you have any question for me out here? Dr. Chidambaram? I could see Dr. Chidambaram raising his hand. Is it to say hi, or do you have anything to be shared with us, or do you have any questions? Shall I proceed further, sir?
Chidambaram sir, you have any questions? Sir, you can proceed, sir.
Great.
Not
Okay.
response.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
Okay. Sir, continue, sir.
All right, sir. Okay. Thank you. So I was talking about learning happens through these three predominant representation systems. One is visual representation, where most of their learning, most of their experience will enter into the system in the forms of images, visuals. That's one thing. And the second representation system is auditory, where they would be more interested in taking the learning, taking the external experience in the form of words, meaning they love to talk a lot, they love to discuss a lot, they love to they use the power of their language. All that become the trait of that particular person. Okay. And most importantly, they take predominant information in forms of words only. They process the external experience, external learning in the form of words. Those are called auditory representation system, or auditory learners, or whatever. And the third predominant representation system would be kinesthetic, meaning they wanted to do, touch, feel that particular learning experience. This guy is will be more interested in learning things by doing, learning things by experiencing it. Okay. So these three are the different learning. See, actually, from now I'm getting into a very, very important thing, which will really shift the way how you see your facilitation, how you see your student, not only in your professional environment, even in your personal life. This particular framework will make a major, major difference. It will give you solutions for a lot of challenges, behavioral issues, or whatever understanding issues that you face in your personal, professional, social life. This framework will definitely give you a better understanding, to have a better strategy in place to handle such situation. So I need a complete attention of every one of you here. So, okay, after discussing about this three representation systems, visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, okay, now I wanted to tell you uh, the, based on the representation system, you can also understand the learning style, not only the learning style, also about the person's inner world. I already told you this. So how is the thing which I'm going to discuss with you now? So now we understood there is a predominant representation system happening. Learning happens through images, through sounds, through feelings. Till this, we have understanding now.
Now I'm going to talk about the traits of this kind of learner. Say, for example, a learner who got a visual predominancy. I also wanted to tell you additional information. Though we have three representational systems, though we process the external learning experience through this three representation system, there will be one, like, representation system which will be very predominant. For somebody, it might be visual. We call them predominantly, they take the learning only in forms of visuals, meaning they love to see, they love to, have flow charts. They construct a lot of, like, the images in their mind about the learning. They will be very comfortable in taking the experience of the learning in form of images predominantly, though they have other representation systems, but predominantly they take the learning through visual. Okay, even not only learning, any experience, any event that's happening outside, they take the information only, they take the information, they remember the information forms of images only. Say, for example, if they are going for a, say, like, one person, visually predominant person going for a industry interface internship project, they remember the entire experience in the form of images, meaning whatever they saw there. That's how the learning happens. But for auditory, all the learning will be retained in forms of discussions, in forms of words. They hear, like, they mostly remember their internship experience in the forms of discussions, what they had, how they communicated. In the forms of words only, they take the information inside. Wherein for the kinesthetic person, it is a kind of wow factor what they have experienced out there. So this is where the magic starts. So once you understand what type of predominant representation system your student is using in processing your learning facilitation, then you will, very easily understand what kind of learner is, how we will behave, and from there, how to, change your facilitation strategies based on this, so that the facilitation process happens with a hypnotic effect, I would say, because they feel more compelled to listen to you. Okay, so till now I have given you a clarity about what is visual representation, auditory representation, kinesthetic representation, and I also discussed with you all about the predominancy of this. Though we have all these five, these three are the, like, primary representation system, wherein in this primary representation system also, students or whomever you meet, they will use either one or two representation systems. That their internal system will be built like that. One, he or she might be visually predominant, or auditory, or kinesthetic, or backed by a secondary representation system is also there. Meaning, say, for example, it could be only visual predominant, or it could be a combination of visual predominancy with auditory as secondary representation system. Meaning, they first see the experience, and also there will be a backing up, then backed by auditory sequence of information also. So how you convert your learning content into a sensory based experience, is very, very important. Trust me, this makes real magic for them. Okay, so now, like, I'm going to give 1 minute's time to every one of you to think about what kind of representation system, what kind of learner we are. Are we visual? Are we auditory? Are we kinesthetic? You yourself think about it. So before getting into that process, I will also give a detailed explanation to understand and excuse me, identify this representation thing. Okay, see, for a visual learner, or a person who got this visual predominant representation, we can easily understand by certain things. One, this guy will be emotionally stable. He won't get super excited. His reactions will be very, very subtle. He's not emotional. This is one point. Second point is his actions will be very fast. He speaks fast. He acts fast. Everything like there will be urgency. Like this, the pace of his language, pace of his actions will be very more. And this guy will be visionary, meaning this guys have the possibility of becoming leaders of the nation or leaders of the project because they can visualize the dream, visualize the process, visualize the organization goals. So they'll be very good at constructing images in a fast pace. So this are all, and they learn information through images. They'll be very instead of reading piles of pages, they'll be comfortable in learning things in flow charts or constructing a imagery representation about their learning. They'll be very comfortable in doing that. So this is about identifying the visual predominancy of your students. And most importantly, if you observe their language patterns, that this is very, very important. When you observe their language pattern, they use a lot of visual words. When you ask about certain learning or any kind of experience in their language, you could see a lot of visual words. Say they use words like look, see, visualize, this kind of words they use. And when they narrate certain experience also, they narrate in frames of images. Say for example, if you ask them how you came to college today, they will give you a visual narration where every information will have a visual word. On top of it, they will also give you a visual experience. Say when they say for example, when they narrate about how they came to the college, they will say, I entered into the arch of the college and then I took the left. There I could see one door at a distance. Then I entered into the door. Then I came to the classroom, to the third chair. They're also good at remembering numbers. So this is how their experience will come out in forms of frames of images only. So because predominantly they are in a visual world, imaginary world. So the language pattern will be visual. Their internal representations will be visual. And as I already told you, these guys will be visionary, they will be fast, they will be emotionally stable, they have a possibility of being a leader, being cool and composed. All these are the traits of a visual predominant learners. And when moving on to auditory, for auditory people, they use words like can you hear, shall we discuss, or it sounds good. This kind of language patterns they predominantly use because they are into auditory world. First thing is the language pattern. If you see, they speak a lot about using auditory words, because their world is full of sounds. So only sounds and auditory stimulus will come out from them, and they'll be very analytical. They'll be asking lot of questions. The beauty about these guys will be they'll be very, very good in communication. They use the power of language. When I say rhyming of the language, intonation, they are very good storytellers. They develop good interpersonal dynamics. They connect with people nicely. They keep talking in the classroom. They ask a lot of questions. They encourage others to speak. They keep in nutshell, they'll be a chatterbox. So these guys are the good profile, who can become a news reader or anything where oratorical skills is required. These guys will shine. Like say in the process of becoming a professor or whatever, they'll be very good because naturally they have that innate talent of using the power of communication. So this is how you identify your auditory learners. And kinesthetic learners, this guys uses they are very slow. We brand them, we call them as the most dragging, lazy people. They're not lazy, they are experiencing the world. They act slow, they speak slow. Their language patterns will be They'll use a lot of emotional words. For every statement, they'll be using a lot of emotional words. Say, for example, like they talk about, like, I'm super excited. I dreamt about it. I'm happy about it. In each and every, language sentence that they use a lot of emotion, feeling related words. Okay, from the by closely observing beyond the information, if you watch their language structure, they use this kind of words: imagine, awesome, great. They and they feel it, they live it. These are all the kind of people, like, who are very, very emotional, right? And chances are there, like, they becoming some people who are into wildlife, who, like, or act people centric, or, like, they might be very active in social setting and coming to, emotionally connecting with the world. So this is how you understand the world after, having a discussion about visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learners. Now I also wanted you, as a learner or as a person, what kind of predominant representation system you have. Or, and again, visual people will be fast. So are you a visual person? This is very, very important. Once you understand who you are, it will be very easy for you to understand others also. Okay, so I'm giving 1 minute's time for every one of you to understand, think, and think. Think about you, or think about a student, or think about somebody in your family, and I want you to identify this guy is visual or auditory or kinesthetic. So I need some responses out here. Think about it, and just uh, chat your experience. Can you find out what kind of representation system you have? Can you think about, can you analyze, take one sample of your student. This guy keeps talking a lot, keep discussing a lot, keep distracting the classes. He's a very beautiful narrator, storyteller. So then you would be an auditory person. You might be having some, personalities in your family or in your friends, where this guy goes emotional about anything and everything which is happening around. So he's kinesthetic. And that might be somebody in your this thing. Even you could be a person who is visually predominant. This is very, very important, and this will be very handy for you to handle a lot of situations. So first, I need some responses. Can you elicit one or two? No, can you chat? Are we all live? Can I get some responses? At least those who are, like, listening to it with full heart and soul. One or two responses to check the understanding. Okay. All right. Shall I move forward with the discussion, or shall I wait for the response? Maybe, like, some of you can unmute and respond. Okay. All right. I've got a message saying that move forward, sir. Okay, then I'm moving forward, assuming that, like, there is a clarity about whatever we discussed so far. So first, it's about understanding the learning styles. So a learner could be a visual learner, or auditory learner, or a kinesthetic learner, or a combination of one or two. Maybe he might see and hear the world, see and feel the world, or feel or hear the world, or feel or see the world. In these combinations, you will have a lot of learners in your classroom, right? So after understanding their internal representation system, say for example, if you have 25-membered or 30-membered classroom, so how to address this entire crowd? There will be a combinations of visual learners, auditory learners, kinesthetic learners. I am a visual learner. So when I being a visual, whatever I speak, only visual learners respond. This is what is the scenario is happening. Okay. Say for example, I'll give you a real-time classroom scenario. Say only one a classroom with 40 member students, and different faculties are coming and taking the class. Say this faculty is a visually predominated person, so all his communication patterns, his experience sharing, his way of facilitation will be visually predominant. So naturally what happens, he can immediately connect with all the visual learners in the classroom. And what will happen to the auditory and kinesthetic people in the class? They will not get an emotional connect. And most importantly, auditory people will start talking to the friend sitting next to them, distracting the class, creating a lot of noise in the classroom. And this emotional people, we need a lot of experience. They don't like to sit in a place for more than 5 minutes. They love to see things happening, touching, doing, physically experiencing the learning. So they couldn't connect with the visual conversation. For the same classroom, say for example, an auditory faculty enters, so he or she will talk a lot, right? Naturally, he or she being auditory person, so predominantly there'll be a lot of talking happening, lot of conversations happening, lot of discussions happening, and talking, all this entire knowledge sharing process will happen in forms of words, lot of structured auditory things. So naturally, auditory learners will get engaged. So auditory learners will get excited about the learning, and they also, talk a lot, and there will be good bonding and understanding happens. Wherein visual people, they couldn't connect to this because they want images. They don't want sounds or words. And kinesthetic people, again, they need a experience. And in the third scenario, if the faculty is a kinesthetic person, and if he addresses the crowd, emotional oriented people, those who experience, immediately starts a session with some models, where these guys are taking the students to the laboratory, taking the students to the external world, to a industry, where they go, move around, roll the sleeves, experience the learning. You should learn from the action. This is how a kinesthetic facilitator will go about it. And he always wanted to have an emotional connect with the students. He values a lot of things. This kind of things will happen. So what will happen to visual and auditory learners? A challenge comes, right, in your classroom facilitation. So how to overcome it? This is where sensory based communication will come into the picture, right? Hello.
So all the participants kindly mute self.
Hello.
Sir, you can proceed, sir.
I'm gonna we have another 15 to 20 minutes only, so I'm gonna wrap it up faster. So now, how to change your facilitation? Either you have to address them separately, which is not possible, or you should categorize a classroom based on the learning skill. That is also not possible. So how to communicate, how to target all the students, how to cater all this different learning styles through the power of your communication? This is very, very, very important. So when you give share something, say it could be subject related content, or any value system which you wanted to have, or any kind of communication related to the student teacher relationship. It could be anything. Okay, how to change your communication so that you create that real time experience, you target the deep subconscious through in the process of learning facilitation. This is very, very important. I'll tell you how it works, okay? With an example of like, narrating a story, because, I have different faculties who teach different subjects. So I'm taking one story as an example, and I will also going to tell you how to apply sensory-based communication when coming to targeting the all learners, okay? So say, for example, there are two ways. One, when you have a one-on-one conversation with your student, first understand the representation system. You will understand whether he or she is visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. And based on the representation system, you change your communication strategies. What I mean by change your communication strategies, you change your this learning as a visual experience for visual people. How can I do this, sir? And again, when you speak to auditory in person, how to change your information into an auditory experience through the power of linguistics. That's what sensory based communication is all about. And when you talk to only a kinesthetic person, how to change your language pattern into feeling experience so that they will feel more connected to you. They'll have a good rapport with you. They will respect you. They will value your content. They will listen to you. They will involve themselves, and thereby a good relationship and good learning facilitation also happens. This is in individual cases. This is one scenario, and the next scenario would be addressing the mass, where it will be a combination of all this three representation system. So I'm going to take one story where I will tell you how to narrate the content only targeting visual, auditory, or kinesthetic, and then how to address the entire crowd, right? So I'm sure every one of us know this story of granny selling vada, a crow came, and all that. So when we normally narrate this story, see, I'm just giving it as an example, metaphorical example. Content may change, but how you present it matters, right? So normally when we narrate the story, what happens? We just give the information, like how, like there was one grandma. She was selling vada on the streets. There came a crow. The crow came and flicked the vada and went and sat in a tree. There came a fox. So like this only we will be giving informations, right? So that's what is also happening in a classroom. That's what is also happening even in our house also. Okay, see, this is very, very important to understand the representation system and communicate according to the representation. If not, conflict only will comes, problem only comes. It will give solutions for a lot of things. So I hope you will understand the intensity of what we are talking out here. So going back to narrating the same story for only visual person. So how you will change this information into a visual experience by converting the information into visual frames and using a lot of visual words, like there is one green big tree. The granny was sitting under the tree. I'm giving a lot of visual references out here. You can understand. Okay, this crow was seeing the granny, looking at the vada, flew from the top of the tree towards the granny, flicked the vada, and went back and sat on the top of the tree. So there are a lot of visual references I'm creating out here. See, very, very important. And there came a fox from a distance, came, it saw. Like that, I use a lot of visual words. I convert the entire story information into a sequence of visual frames. So when I narrate in this sequence, naturally, visual people will have a hypnotic effect. They develop a lot of frames about what we are talking, images about what we are talking in their mind. And then, that participation level will be flawless and awesome. This is for visual. So going back to the auditory, like if you tell the same story, again, you engage the audience. You ask, I am going to tell one story. They use the power of words. They, deploy a lot of rhyming in their language. They make use of intonation, syllabification, choosing the right words, and they use a lot of sounds in their communication. Say, like in the same story, there is sitting silently. Okay, the crow Zoom it came and flick the water and went by pada pada. That they use the sounds in narrating. You understand the difference here, right? So every statement will have an auditory stimulus. It will be engaging them into a discussion, and it will give a lot of sounds for references, details for references. That's how you engage your auditory audience. Wherein when coming to kinesthetic audience, it is all about feelings, right? So there was a old granny who's very pretty. Okay, this cunning and cruel crow, cunning fox, very sweet and crispy vada. This kind of references gives that excitement to the kinesthetic learners. You know, giving out using a lot of kinesthetic language patterns and constructing the information into kinesthetic experience, right? So after understanding all this, okay, now you would have got an understanding about how to address a visual, auditory, and kinesthetic people separately. But what to do in a MOS? So there also came a reference where on the same language you use combinations of all these three: visual, auditory, and kinesthetic references. So everyone will be involved and there will be clear information to everyone. Say for example, one good example where you could connect with what I'm talking. Say if you watch a movie, say 10 years back you would have watched the movie, but still you remember the story, you remember the face of the people who acted in it, everything you remember. You know why? Because movie is something which triggers visual, auditory, and kinesthetic experience at the same time. In a movie, you see everything in forms of visual frames. In movie, you have a lot of sounds, lot of conversation. In movie, lot of feelings get elicited. That is why, people are really crazy about watching movies, TV shows, and all that, because it is compelling them, it is influencing them with all these three, experience at a time. So if you could give, this three experience at a time in your communication, then it becomes a sensory communication. Then it targets all the visual, auditory, and kinesthetic stimulus, and learning retention will be more. As simple as that. So going back to the story, how to bring this three into this narration, converting information into sensory experience. Say this silently sitting under the tree. So what is the combination I'm giving? Silent auditory reference I'm giving. Sitting under pitiful granny, under the tree, visual reference. Pitiful auditory kinesthetic reference. Silently is a auditory reference. So like that, every information you could convert. This crow which is sitting on the silently on the top of the board cunningly came. So use a lot of adjectives, adverbs, which will give a lot of hypnotic effect. So this is how you at a time trigger all this three representational systems. You also give a visual frame followed by an auditory stimulus followed by a kinesthetic stimulus, so that you will reach all your audience, right? So with this, see, we have how to do. There are a lot of techniques, methods available, which we couldn't discuss now. My primary objective with whatever time available for us now, I thought of giving an insight about two important things. One, understanding the representation system, and thereby understanding the learning strategies and the nature of learning. Two, how to adopt a facilitation strategy which will target your representation systems. As simple as that. So I'm reserving the next 5 minutes for the discussion, so you can ask questions, Q&A now. How to do it? There are a lot of methods, how to frame your words, how to build a rapport. There's a lot of techniques available, but we couldn't discuss all that. But in general, I hope I would have given a clarity to you about how to understand this difference in the representation systems and how to communicate, how to give them a sensory experience through your structured language patterns. So if you ask questions only, I can give more detail about it. So we can close the presentation, sir. We'll have Q&A.
So participants, you have any questions, kindly unmute yourself and ask them.
They can also chat.
Okay, you have questions, please put in
Yes,
chat box also.
I think I have received one question. I really appreciate that. One moment. Symptoms to identify students, visual and auditory. I already, thanks for asking, Dr. Balasubramaniam. I really appreciate that. Like, you are so attentive, and thanks for asking the beautiful question. See, I already told you, right? See, are you talking about combination of visual and auditory, or identifying students who are visual predominant and auditory? I just wanted to know that, Dr. Balasubramaniam. Hello?
So any questions? Hello, sir. Your voice is audible, sir.
Hello?
Sir, your voice is audible, sir.
Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. I got the response from Dr. Balasubramani. Thank you so much, sir. So it is about identifying. I already told you. I repeat the information. No problem. See, visual learners, as I already told, they don't speak much. Okay. First thing, how you learn, they don't speak much. Second, they will be emotionally very stable. You can't predict them. They won't give any clues for you to identify them, because they will be very, very emotionally stable. Third thing, when you observe their language patterns closely, if at all they respond, they use certain visual words in their communication. Okay, meaning they use words like look, see, visualize. This kind of words they use, because that is how their brain process. That is how they give the information in sequence of visual frames. They narrate. That narration style will be in the frames of images. As I already gave you an example, like a student entering into a college, when we ask them to narrate, how was your first day experience at the college? They will start giving frames of images only. The first person whom I saw was, he was standing at a distance. I went close to them. So he give directions. Every narration will be in form of visual uh, frames of information. So this is how you can identify visual people, and they act fast. They will be very active, brisk. They speak fast. If at all when they speak, this is how you identify visual learners. Wherein, one moment. Wherein, when coming to auditory people, as I already told you, they are very analytical. They ask a lot of questions. They speak. They interact. Okay, this is how you find out this auditory guys. Naturally, they have the gift of communicating effectively. They make friends easily. They will be celebrated for the way how they speak. They use the power of language. They use words, tone, non-verbal cues very effectively. But when coming to the pace of speaking or pace of action, when compared to visual people, they will be moderately slow, right? But they use the power of words, and in their language, you could see words like, can you hear? Can you talk about it? Can you tell this? Okay. I want you to speak about this. Like that, they use words, auditory words in their language pattern. And mostly they love to talk a lot. They encourage people to have a two-way communication. All these things will be there with the auditory people. Where in the case of kinesthetic students, they'll be very emotional. They will be very slow, little lazy, but they live. They enjoy. They respect. They value, and they won't sit in one place 40 minutes continuously. They cannot sit. they move around, they love to act, and in their language they use words like I realized, I connected, I was excited, I'm happy, I'm sad, it's disgusting.
Hello.
This kind of words also they use. So this is how you identify different learners. Okay, sir? And thanks for that beautiful question. And let me check whether I have any other questions. How to monitor the student is attentive in online classes? That's a beautiful question. We have Dr. Martin Charles. So, how to monitor the students? See, even in online classes, what happens? Like it's a one-way communication, right? So, what you have to do is, in the beginning of the session, you engage them. You try to elicit certain responses. How they will respond? Either they will speak, or they will chat, or sometimes they pop up in their video screen, right? So with this responses itself, you can easily read and study the representation system of your students. Say like in the chat or in the way they speak, maybe you will get minimum time to connect with these guys, but still whenever and wherever they interact, at times you see them visually, at times they speak to you, okay, they allow them to speak, and at times, like most of the times they chat, right? So in the chatting, in the language sequence itself, you can read their mind. Say like you type like how to monitor the students is attentive in online classes, right? So in this sentence itself, you used attentive, you use monitor. There is a possibility that you could be a kinesthetic learner or a kinesthetic person, sir. You understand? So from it will be very simple, but when you practice all this, like when you initially somebody wouldn't have believed that it is there, but trust me, it's a science which gave fantabulous results in hypnosis and covered hypnosis. This is what they use. Okay, so like from the chat, from the dialogues, from the frames of visuals, whatever you see, and from the way how they respond also, kinesthetic people, they will be very grateful. They thank us, and they express whatever they feel. If they are not happy, they will say not happy. If they are feeling super excited, they will share that happiness. So like that, like it might take some time, but once you get used to this, it will be very simple. I'm telling you, in a matter of 5 to 10 seconds, you can read the learning style, read the complete personality, and based on that, see whatever we discussed. I request you all to implement it at least once. Then you will get obsessed. Then you will get super excited. Say for example, today if you go back to your home, say for example, if you have a conflict with somebody in your home, always you just like observe the representation system. It will not be the same as yours. Say for example, you are a visual person, and your kid might be a kinesthetic person. So what happens here, the kid expects a lot of emotions in your language and the way how she has been treated. She expects you to like receive too much of emotions what she is giving. She also expects, she or he expects more emotions from you. She wanted to move around, she won't stand in a place. So definitely visual people will be completely different from all this. This world is full of feelings, but your world is full of images. It is very balanced, cool and composed. You process everything in forms of images. Even you process your kids emotion as just image. I'm just giving an example. So it will give a better understanding why this all these days it was like this. And then it will also help you to come down to their world. And if you change your way of dealing this kid, all this time, unknowingly, we will be giving a lot of visuals to them. But this guy needs emotions. So naturally, she or he cannot align with images because the world is different. So now you know the art of understanding. Oh, this is a feeling world. So I go down to that world, connect with them. I change my language pattern, I change my pace of talking to them, and I connect with them. I take them. I involve myself in a lot of it. Then comes the bonding. So the same thing can happen in your professional setting. The same thing will happen even when you go outside, and it can happen in matter of time. That's the beauty about deploying the sensory-based communication in your in the process of understanding the learning style and in the process of facilitation strategies. Great. Any questions we have, sir? Any further questions? Okay, I have another one question. I will close this with this beautiful. How to make the online class more interesting? Okay. See, actually, like uh, you share a lot of visuals, you speak a lot, and you connect. Whatever activity. See, normally, why online session is boring? I know the intention behind this question. So normally, like these are all the basic challenges when coming to online sessions. But if you really wanted to make it on, we cannot avoid the new normal is not going to be the same as before. Either it's going to be completely online, or it's going to be an integrated learning. Okay, all these things are definitely going to happen. So we have to equip, or we have to find out a way where how to make this online class interesting. So it's very simple. Whatever you're going to teach online, see to that there are equal amount of images, and there are equal amount of two-way communication happening, and there are equal amount of emotional connect is happening. And even in your communication process, when even if at all you're not seeing at that face, if at all you don't have access to what they are doing, but still you use sensory based communication to create a visual, auditory, and kinesthetic experience to your audience. Naturally it will be engaging. All this are very good to understand, but knowing is not equal to doing. Doing is not equal to excellence. It requires persistent practice, involvement in understanding the concept in a better way, and thereby deploying it, because knowing is what understanding the concept is all about. But I'm telling you, you will be really, really super excited when you deploy this in your professional and social setting, even in the online classroom, as I already discussed with you. Try this, then you will see the kind of magic happening to you. The experience what you have been getting so far, it will not be the same when you deploy all this in your classroom facilitation strategies. Thank you so much. Great. So over to Dr. Saravani. And I had a nice time talking to all. So little time I had, so I just wanted to take two areas where one, to understand the learning style representation system. Two, how to deploy sensory based communication in your facilitation so that you make the learning more compelling to them. This is what the objective. So I tried my level best to give clarity about what we are discussing out here. Thanks for the opportunity. I thank Dr. Brinda, Dr. Sarunan, Dr. Shanmugam, and for all the faculty members and the management of Sairam Institute for the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful presentation, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And thanks for your valuable time with us. Thanks a lot, sir.
Great. Pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Within a short time duration,
Time is one major problem out here.
Okay, sir. But within a short time, you have explained a lot, right? Based on your personal experience, you have explained many things for the growing teaching community, right? They can upgrade their knowledge and the teaching style and teaching methodology, and how to handle the classes in online mode, and how to handle the students, different types of kinds of students. So your explanation is very awesome and it's very wonderful. And thank you very much. Thank you for presence. And on behalf of our Sairam Institute of Technology and the participants and staff members, I thank you once again, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, all the participants kindly fill the attendance form and the feedback form. Next session will start at 2:30 p.m. Thank you. Sarwan sir, shall I bind up?